Right, let's rewind. There's this common saying in film that people can forgive bad imagery, but they can't forgive bad sound. So if you work in indie film or you just have a really low budget, how are you meant to get quality sound design done? So let's say you have a film and you're at the sound design stage. Really, there are 3 things you should be doing moving forward. And number 1 is finding a sound designer. Now, after talking to a few freelancers, you'll probably realize that the price of sound designing really is, as it should be, as much as anything else in film. A lot of the time I work with people just out of university, maybe they're just starting a business of their own and going freelance, and they'll do it for either a discounted rate or sometimes even for free. Even if someone offers to do something for free, you should at least try and pay them enough for a round at the pub. I think you should make the gesture and at least have some kind of exchange of money so that it still feels like a professional job for them. Just apologize profusely, knowing that you are not paying them what they are worth. The second thing you need to work out are your working boundaries as a director and a sound designer. A lot of the time things can get stretched out in post and you have thousands of versions of things going back and forth. My rule is that we will only ever do 3 exports. The first version based on my notes, my feedback note version, and my final note version. That way you're always walking towards that final 3rd step goal and you're not dragging it out too much, you're not wasting their time, because you can't pay for their time anyway. And the third thing you need to figure out is your workflow. How are you going to communicate your notes to your sound designer? How are you going to be efficient with that? The format for my sound design notes is really simple. It's just a 3-column table with time code, notes, and a screen grab, just in case they want a visual reference. So a nice tip to get you started and avoid changes later is to go through your film and send your designer an initial table of notes so that they know your starting point. So at the minute, I'm on post-production of a short film. I've just gotten the version 1 sound design back from the designer, and I'm going to go through it and update my notes for version 2, taking you through a few examples to show you what I mean. Okay, so right off the bat, I can hear that there's something weird going on with the phone tone that's being used in the background. A general note, so she knows that that is across the whole board.
The model you sent me must be defected or something. I barely touched it.
A director should never be a dictator with their notes, always be open to questions. Maybe she's got an idea for this that I'm not aware of at this early stage. I also kind of want to hear a little bit of call center background noise as well, just to set the scene there and add a little bit to the chaos.
But wait, I still...
The dial tone comes in a little too quickly.
Wait, I still...
Like she's barely finished her sentence. Just to make it easier for her, I'm gonna send a screen grab so she has an idea of where about to look for.
What's the issue?
The Skype sound, after we've had that initial close-up, might need to come down a bit, just because it's not that important until we get back to it later in the script. Let's just give a screen grab, particularly because we got a lovely one featuring our pleasure stick here. Start frame, end frame. If that's useful to the designer, cool. If not, it's there for me as a visual reference to know what I'm talking about as well.
You know, there's instructions with each item showing you how to screw the batteries in.
So in this Skype section, I kind of want to get across that she's feeling overwhelmed. I can hear multiple audio tracks overlapping. It's overwhelming a little bit too much with the fast cuts. So I've just said that I want to reduce that overlaps, but in general, that build up is working for me. I'm going to finish filling in my notes and send that off to the sound designer. After writing up my notes, I decided that I wanted to call the designer and run through any major points, as well as just to have a chat and say, well done on the V1 draft.
Hiya.
There were some points that I was like, this is going to be way easier to just explain over the phone.
Yeah, definitely.
So the first one was the dial tone. I wonder if we can try and incorporate a bit of like a call center into the background. And then the other thing that I was thinking, which I kind of wanted your opinion on, if any of it doesn't make sense when I send it over, feel free to give me a buzz again.
Cool.
I'll speak to you in a bit.
All right, bye.
Bye. So it is a few weeks later. We're going to review the next stage of the sound design. I want to be listening through as many different speakers and devices as possible to see what it sounds like, and we'll see what changes have come about. think what we need to think about here is the tone. So particularly when the first frame comes up. The radio voice should end there. Oh, let's make that line so much shorter. It's in the right direction. I think I'm gonna listen to it on a few different devices, maybe get a few people's opinions on it, and then I have to send my final notes.
Over the next few weeks, I got any friends, family or filmmakers I knew to have a listen and let me know what they thought before sending my amends over for the final version.
Okay. This is our third and final review session for the sound. I feel like I should mention my sound designer also has a little experience in mixing. It's important to know the difference between sound design, which is essentially the build, the skeleton of sounds of what is in there. And then the mix is very much leveling, EQing, denoising, all the fun little effects that I genuinely don't know anything about. So I was lucky enough that my sound designer has a bit of mix experience, but not too much. And because of that, we decided that she would kind of do her version of a mix export, but in separate layers. And then that would just mean if I wanted to, I could manipulate the mix a little bit in these final steps to get it exactly how I want. It's worth noting, if I was paying a professional sound designer full rates to do the mix, I would not touch it afterwards. But this was just a compromise that me and my sound designer worked out that just would save time and made sense. Let's go. Nice. That start is so much stronger now. The visuals being paired with like that. We've started. Love it.
Well, no, I'll ask my supervisor.
Wait, I still...
The ding is right.
Now, you know, there's instructions with each item showing you how to screw the batteries in.
Oh my god!
That Skype build up is much clearer now. It's subtle enough that you get what's going on.
Can't wait.
Nice.
Can't I
The
fix
mix
this
of the
now?
phones now is really nice. We've got a bit of the call center stuff in the background, but not too much.
Hold on one moment and I'll sort out that shipping.
Yes. So that moment where she's been put on hold, and then as Skype comes in, the volumes just kind of switch a little bit because our focus is being redirected.
Meltdowns? Oh,
So I wanted something significant in this moment for the conversation that they're having, and up until now we've only had music in the diegetic sense, so there's been a radio playing. So I wanted the moment that we used music in a non-diegetic way to be significant. So this is kind of a subconscious way of saying to the audience, like, this moment is important.
Yeah, I haven't heard you say that before.
I love the music track. I think it works great. This is the first time frame-wise they're kind of equal in size and composition, and it's just kind of showing like they're having the same moment. But that's a director's point. Maybe if people want a directing video, then I'll do that. And then we've got the soundtrack at the end, the dialogue slowly fading out. I quite like that because you're almost drawn in with the sound, and then the film's kind of over before you realize it. Like, it doesn't really matter what they're saying to each other right now. It just matters that we see them at the end of the film in a better state than they were before. Nice! So now she's ready to go off to festivals and be shown to people and see what the world thinks. My hope is that at least one point in this video was useful to you. And if it was, give a like. If there were 10 things that were useful, give 10 likes. That's a thing, right? If there's anything else that you want to know, or you're just curious about the film, shoot me a message. And yeah, go make something.